Recording started.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon. My name is Manuel Medrano, and I am the Environmental Services Manager for the city. I'd like to welcome you to the third edition of the City of Chula Vista's Summer Sustainability Series. Today's webinar will be a fun and interactive way to look at recycling and waste reduction. Recycling right, as we call it in much of our campaigns now, is more important than ever. A few years ago, China, who used to accept and process most of the material from California, decided to stop taking much of this material, much of the recycling material. So now this creates a great opportunity for us to look at ways to make products and materials here domestically and develop what we call a circular economy, which is very important and actually creates great green jobs. So today we have two great presenters. First, we have Giovanna Castro from Republic Services. She's the Municipal Markets Coordinator. She brings extensive marketing background and experience and helps coordinate the outreach to Chula Vista residents and businesses, among a lot of other work that she does. And then followed by Marty Solomon, who is the Sustainability Specialist with the City of Chula Vista. And she brings 25 years of program experience in both private and private and public sectors. She's responsible also for a lot of the programs that you see here in Chula Vista for both businesses and residents when it comes to recycling. So I'd like to move, if you can move the next screen over, please. So before we begin, I'd like to also invite you, and this will come back to the end. We have following great other sustainability series presentations here next week, and you could see them there. And if you want to register for them, you could just visit chulavistaca.gov/clean to sign up to any of these great presentations. So one other thing, if you could move the next screen over. So just a reminder, all attendees are muted, and we do have the Q&A, the questions you could ask on the little box there in the bottom, and feel free to ask questions throughout. This is going to be an interactive presentation, so you could always ask throughout, and we'll answer as we go on. And there's going to be fun polls and stuff to do as well. So just don't be afraid to ask us any questions there in the little box. So without further ado, I'd like to start the presentation, and we can move on to the next screen. Go ahead, Giovanna. Giovanna, you're muted.
Speaking on recycling and the importance of it and how you can do your part and recycle properly. If you can please move to the next slide.
Well, the reason recycling is important is it helps us keep in compliance with state regulations. It's a very intricate part of the City of Chula Vista's Climate Action Plan. It protects natural resources. It does conserve energy, reduces pollution, saves landfill space, and it provides jobs. Can you believe that one 96-gallon cart of recyclables collected one time a week equals 3.45 metric tons of carbon dioxide, or 9 cars taken off the road? Recycling the equivalent of 12.7 trash bags of waste instead of it being landfills saves 423 kilowatt hours, and that's about what my house consumed in May, or 742 miles driven by the average passenger vehicle, or almost 0.3 tons of carbon dioxide. Next slide, please.
So as Marty mentioned in the previous slide, recycling is important for many reasons, including protecting the environment and our natural resources. Some of you may have heard of the waste hierarchy, which is the order of priority of actions to be taken to reduce the amount of waste generated and to improve overall waste management processes and programs. The waste hierarchy consists of the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So the first R, reduce, is to create less waste, which means there is less to recycle or reuse. When we reduce the things we use, less garbage goes into the landfill. One way to reduce is by limiting the amount of paper you print and always printing double-sided to reduce paper waste. The second R is reuse, which means to reuse items or repurpose them for use different from what they are intended for. So for example, we can reuse old jars to store items in the kitchen or other loose items around the house. And then the last R is to recycle, which means that an item will be transformed again into raw material that can be shaped into a new product. So plastic, for example, can be made into jackets or sleeping bags. Paper can be made into new paper, and metal cans can be made into bike frames or refrigerators. Next slide, please.
Now, the trick is to know what to recycle curbside. You want to recycle your cardboard, make sure you flatten it so it takes up less space. Your paper, your bimetal cans, your aluminum cans, plastic bottles and jugs, and glass. Now, there is a trick with glass that I want to pass on to you. If it had something to eat or something to drink in it, such as a jar of spaghetti sauce or a Starbucks Frappuccino, that can be recycled. But if it's a broken picture frame or mirror, that would actually have to go into your trash cart. I just want to quickly go over a couple of contaminants that should never go into the recycling container: plastic bags and wrappers, soiled paper, styrofoam. Yard waste should obviously go in your yard waste container, diapers, and then there's a few other things such as electronics and batteries and medical waste. They would not go into your recycling container, or your trash container. They would actually go to our household hazardous waste facility on Maxwell Road. Another thing, the evil, dreaded, but we all love it, pizza box. There's always a part of the pizza box that's greasy, cheesy, and then there's a part of the box that's totally clean. If you want to be a die-hard 100% correct recycler, put the non-contaminated part of the box in your recycling cart and the greasy, cheesy part in your trash cart. As far as clothing and shoes and toys, if they're actually reusable, don't trash them, don't recycle them, donate them to a local charity so somebody else can use them. And that way you're practicing the reuse R of the 3 R's. Next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. So I also added some tips for COVID-19 waste and recycling collection. So a couple of things that we always want to do is to tie our trash. So this protects our workers from handling infectious trash, which could inadvertently be transmitted. We also want to make sure that our recyclables are empty, clean, and dry, as residual liquids can carry viruses. And this is also true in general, as well as during the pandemic. Then we also want to always put contaminated tissues and paper towels directly in the trash. It's important to properly dispose of tissue and paper towels used by quarantined individuals. And we also want to observe social distancing with our workforce. Some don'ts is to never bag your recyclables. Bags can accumulate residual liquids that can carry viruses and bacteria. We don't want to recycle medical masks, protective gloves, and other PPE. We want to simply put those items in the trash. And we don't want to put disinfecting wipes into our compost, as the chemicals destroy the good bacteria required for successful composting. Next slide, please.
There's a couple things that you want to always remember. You want to keep the recyclables clean and dry. You want to scrape out all cans, pour out all bottles that you haven't completely finished, and keep it clean to prevent contamination. You don't have to worry about bagging your recyclables. Put them in your cart loose. Main reason is plastic bags are tanglers, and they cause problems for the equipment at the recycling center. Some other tanglers are hoses, ropes, wire hangers. You want to keep them out of your recycling cart because it does, when they get in the equipment at the recycling center, then they have to shut down the equipment. It takes time and it just impedes the entire process. Now, there are some household hazardous waste items you never want to throw away. You want to take it to the city's household hazardous waste facility located at 1800 Maxwell Road. It is open to the public every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There is no appointment necessary. For those of you in the audience that perhaps haven't visited the hazardous waste facility in a while, due to COVID-19, there's just two little differences that I want to make sure you're aware of. First of all, you do need to wear a mask or they will not permit you to enter the facility. And all items must be either in the bed of a truck or in the trunk of your car, or if you have a hatchback and don't officially have a trunk, as long as it's in the back of the vehicle so that everybody can maintain the 6 feet social distancing. Otherwise, we take the same items that we always have. Next slide, please.
Marty, we have a question on the Q&A box. So, and great, thank you very much for the reminder. For everybody that joined us a little later, there is that Q&A box right there. You can feel free to ask questions. So the question comes from John Knox, and it's, once items are placed in the blue curbside bin, where exactly do these items are taken by the trucks?
They are taken to the materials recovery facility that the Republic uses in Lemon Grove.
Thank you very much for that question. John, feel free to ask us more questions. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. This is Giovanna again. So now that we're all expert recyclers, let's play a game on what we can and cannot recycle. Over the next few slides, you will see a slide on the screen asking whether or not the items are recyclable, and poll questions will pop up on your screen if you can please answer either true or false for the corresponding item. So next slide, please. So the first question is, are both an empty plastic water bottle and a water bottle with liquid in it recyclable? You can please answer the polling question. All right, so the answer is actually false. So if a plastic bottle has liquid in it, whether it be water or any other type of liquid, it does not go into the recycling bin. You want to make sure that it's empty first, and that goes for any type of bottle or can before it's placed into the recycling bin, as liquid can contaminate other recyclables into the bin. So the next question, please. So are Ziploc bags recyclable? Yes or no? Give you guys a few seconds more to answer the question. Alrighty, so 46% of you actually said that it is recyclable, and the answer is actually false. Ziploc bags are not recyclable, and they should always be placed in the trash. A good test is if you can poke a hole through it, it is not recyclable. Next question, please. So the next question is, are trash bags recyclable? True or false? Alrighty, so trash bags are not recyclable. They should always be placed into the trash bin. So when we're putting our recyclables into the recycling bin, we always want to make sure that they're loose, and we do not bag them, as trash bags can get caught up in the machinery at the materials recovery facility where recyclables are sorted. Next question, please. So the next question is, are plastic forks and plates recyclable? A few more seconds to answer the poll, please. Alrighty, so the answer is actually false. Plastic utensils and plates are not recyclable and are intended for single use only. Please always place these items in the trash can. Instead of putting these items in the trash bin though, you can always use reusable utensils and dinnerware instead of single use. Next question, please. So are both an empty aerosol can that had bug spray in it and an aerosol can with air freshener still in it recyclable? So the answer is false. Any aerosol can with any type of liquid in it should not go into the recycling bin or trash bin. It needs to be taken to the household hazardous waste facility, and we have one located in Chula Vista at 1800 Maxwell Road. An empty aerosol can be placed into the recycling bin at the curb, but only if there is no liquid in it. And then last question, next slide, please. Are styrofoam packing peanuts recyclable? Alrighty, so answers are in. The answer is actually false. They are not recyclable and should always be placed into the trash. I do want to note that block styrofoam is accepted within the city of Chula Vista. So an example of block styrofoam would be styrofoam that's in an appliance box or TV box. Styrofoam that's single use, such as cups and takeout trays, are not recyclable. Next slide, please.
What some of you may be wondering is, how long till it's gone? Some items take a very long time to decompose at the landfill. Others take years, hundreds of years. Paper will take 2.4 weeks to recycle. Fruit peelings could take up to 6 months to recycle. Your average milk carton could take 5 years to recycle. Plastic bags that you get at the grocery store take 15 years to decompose. Metal cans, 100 years. Water bottles, 450 years. And glass bottles and jars can take up to 500 years to decompose. And styrofoam cups, they'll never decompose. For every ton of paper that you recycle, you save 380 gallons of oil and 7,000 gallons of water. By recycling just one aluminum can, that is enough energy to run a TV or a computer for 3 hours or a 100-watt bulb for 20 hours. And Americans throw away more than 2.5 million plastic bottles every hour. Next slide, please.
So in addition, there are upcoming changes to recycling that will require all businesses and residents within the state of California to recycle organic waste, which will be equally important that we recycle properly. In 2016, SB 1383 was signed, which is the most significant waste reduction mandate to be adopted in California in the last 30 years. It requires the state to reduce organic waste, which includes food waste, green waste, paper products, etc., disposal by 75% by 2025. The law also requires the state to increase edible food recovery by 20% by 2025. In 2022, regulations will take into effect. So Republic Services, in partnership with the City of Chula Vista, is currently working on an organic food waste plan. As of now, we know that all of Chula Vista's organic waste will be processed at the Republic-owned and operated Otay Research Composting Facility, where it will be processed into compost. All residential green and food waste will be commingled, and commercial collection will be source separated. So please look out for upcoming changes in Chula Vista and throughout the state of California. Next slide, please.
Well, we want to thank you all for attending our webinar today. If you have any questions, you can certainly contact myself or Giovanna. Our contact information is there for you on the screen.
So Marty, we do have a question from John Knox, and he's asking us what doesn't the city provide a truck to come to our homes to pick up hazmat by residents' request or appointment? Going to the hazmat facility on Maxwell is often inconvenient. Will you want to take that one, Marty? You want me to take it?
Sure, I'll be happy to take it, Manuel. One of the ways, if indeed somebody does have an issue getting to the hazardous waste facility, if they're elderly or disabled, you can call the city at 619-691-5122, and we can set up a home pickup for you. That is an option that's available, or perhaps if you can have a friend or a neighbor take the items for you, then that would be another option if you yourself are not able to get to the facility.
So just to add, that service is not just restricted to if you are disabled or elderly. Anybody that needs a service could ask for this service. And something else to add is that the hazardous waste facility on at Maxwell is also open Wednesdays, in addition to Saturdays from 9 to 1. We're the only facility in the region and pretty much the county that opens 2 days a week without an appointment. But if you just can't make that time, we definitely could have a truck go by and pick up the hazardous materials from your house at no cost. It's completely free. And this also applies to a certain designation of businesses. It's usually smaller businesses that could have this type of service available to them as well. Good question. Thank you. So if there's any other questions, I recommend if you want to ask, here is the time. We have two experts on board here that could pretty much answer any questions when it comes to recycling. So feel free. One thing I would like to add is that when it comes to waste reduction, and we did have that slide on reducing waste, it also depends on your own buying choices. I know sometimes it's difficult to look for the items and products that have less packaging, but if you look a little bit hard, you might be able to find items like that have less packaging that's not recyclable. You could buy in bulk as well, and usually you could save some money that way as well. And then if you can't find your favorite item and that contains little packaging, I suggest you either email or through social media contact that product maker and let them know that you want it in a recyclable container or material. That's a excellent way to speak with your purchasing dollars. So we have another question here from Colleen, and she's asking, what is the best way to recycle shredded paper?
Well, with shredded paper, if you put it in a clear, see-through plastic bag, that is the only time a plastic bag can go into your recyclable container, but it cannot have any other materials in it, because when the materials are processed, it's a semi-automated system. It goes over a conveyor belt, and people are picking off bags, and they don't have time to open the bag. But if they see it's clear, they can tell what's in it. They do what I lovingly refer to as the pillow test. They smish the bag, make sure nothing's in it. They put it aside, and it is indeed recycled as paper. But if something is in a dark plastic bag, it's automatically going to be processed as trash, and we certainly don't want that.
Great. And then we have another question here from Robert. Is bubble wrap from Amazon deliveries recyclable?
No, sadly, bubble wrap is not recyclable, and it would need to go in your trash.
We got another question from Colleen, and she's asking, what is the best way to get rid of all my junk mail? Is there a way to cancel it?
Go ahead, Giovanna, you take that one.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of different websites that you can sign up for to no longer receive junk mail. So if you just search Google, reduce my junk mail consumption, there will be websites that pop up. You sign up and you will opt out of receiving unnecessary mail at your house.
Great. We have another question here, and it's from John Knox. China stopped accepting U.S. recyclables a few years ago. Too much contamination. I believe. How has this impacted municipal recycling programs like the one in Chula Vista? Are there U.S. industries forming to deal with our recyclables? So, you guys there? Marty?
Go ahead, Manuel. You take that one.
Okay, I was wondering because everything went silent for a little bit, and what happened is that a lot of the companies that are processing this material and buying it actually found obviously that they could not find homes to send this material to, so the cost to process the materials did go up in a lot of instances. I would say most instances, and that was a result of that. But there are a lot of companies now that are benefiting from this, and they are setting up shop either in Western United States, California, and they're producing material that we use every day, but not at the same pace that China was once accepting. So it's slowly but surely developing. There is a big movement afoot to start dealing with this material, recycling. And creating material out of recyclables is not as labor intensive as it once was. It's much more technologically advanced and uses less labor. And like I said at the beginning, it's a good opportunity for us to create a circular economy, but it's slow to develop, and it will be there, except that we just need a little bit of time. That's a great question.
I do want to add something to that. So this is Giovanna from Republic Services. So for China Sword, they reduced the contamination level from 3% to 0.5. And just to give everyone some context, the current national contamination rate in the United States is 30%. And here in Chula Vista, it's actually about 14% for residents. So Republic Services is really trying to educate the public on how to recycle properly and reduce contamination in order for us to move our materials.
That's great. Great point, Giovanna. So we have another question here from Robert, and he's asking, how important is it to break down cardboard boxes before putting them in your blue bin?
It's very important to break them down because it saves space and it will allow you to put more items in your recycling container. With everybody sort of locked down at home, we all have more boxes than perhaps we did before the COVID lockdown, and that way you can fit more items in your recycling container if you break the boxes down.
Excellent. Next question comes from Waldo, and he's asking, what do we do to dispose of old tech, such as laptops and TVs?
Those items can be taken to the household hazardous waste facility. They are electronics. Also, there is Main Street Recycling as well that takes electronic items. And that's right by the city's animal shelter.
Excellent. And occasionally there is electronic waste collection events set up not by the city. There's a different company that sets up usually in parking lots at a supermarket. So you usually see large banners in the outside of the stores and throughout the city corners, which indicate what day and time they're doing that. So keep an eye on that as well to take those electronics. Another question from Colleen, and it's, what happens if the lid on my recycling cart is broken or missing? How do I get a new one? That's for Giovanna.
Yeah, so Republic Services offers a lot of benefits to City of Chula Vista residents, and one of that benefits is replacing carts for free if they're damaged or if you have broken lids. We will go out and fix it for you or replace it if it needs to be. So you can give our customer service center a call, give us a call, and then we will have someone come down and take a look at it and get that fixed for you.
Great. And now we have a question from Scott, and he's asking, what if my business is interested in recycling? Does the city have any programs that could help me?
We do. My fellow recycling specialists and I are more than happy to talk with you, find out what your needs are, and help you set up a new recycling program to help your business be more environmentally sustainable. And you can call us at 619-691-5122.
Hey, Marty, you want to go over our program where we're going to be offering virtual assistance to businesses?
Certainly. We are offering now virtual waste studies. You would call the number that I gave you. You would then, a recycling specialist would get back with you and we would send you some instructions. We would need you to take pictures of your container and its contents right before your service day, so we get an idea of when it's at its maximum capacity, what you have in there, and depending what kind of business you are, there may be other things that we might want you to take pictures of, just to make sure that you're recycling everything you can and that you're not accidentally putting things in the trash that should be in the recycling container. It's a little more involved now than it used to be, but we still are able to assist you in becoming more environmentally sustainable.
Yeah, in many instances, businesses might end up saving money as well, so it's a win-win. We have another question from Victor, and it's actually a two-part question. He's asking, are empty pill bottles recyclable? And then what do I do with the pills?
Yes, empty pill bottles are recyclable. We have however, the medication has to be taken to, we have 4 locations in Chula Vista. The Chula Vista Police Department in the lobby, they take the pills. Also, there is Albertsons on 3rd Avenue. Inside at the pharmacy, they take medication as well. And then there is a Vons out on Eastlake Parkway, I believe it is, that takes the medication as well. So you would bring your medication to them, but the bottles can be recycled.
Yeah, so if you think about it, almost every quadrant of the city is covered with the opportunity. We're hoping to be able to make available a bin at Southwestern College at their police station, but unfortunately the college is closed. But once that reopens, we'll be able to have almost middle and every corner of the city. Great question. Another question we have now from John, and this one is really interesting. It's there are billions of plastic bottles. What are these bottles recycled into? Marty, you love this type of these examples.
Well, plastic water bottles, they can be recycled into backpacks. They can be recycled actually into clothing, stuffing for sleeping bags, ski jackets, also what they call fluff inside the doors of cars, carpet, lanyards. There's all kinds of things that these items can be made into. That's
Eh,
just a few of the list.
Yeah, and there's also what they call bottle to bottle recycling. So there are some water companies and beverage companies that are recycling, taking material that were bottles one point and making them again into bottles, so they could continue recycling, continue be in the circular program and economy. So it's a good question. Thank you very much for asking it. Then we have a question here from Scott, and he's asking, what is the city's diversion rate compared to other cities, and what is our goal? So I could take that one. Our diversion rate at this point is in the low 60s to high 50%. So around 59 to 60%, depending on the year, up to 62%. That's our diversion rate. It's on par with cities like the city of San Diego, and unfortunately, other smaller cities have a lower recycling rate or diversion rate, as we call it. So and the second part of this question is, what is the goal? And the goal is actually 75% per state mandate. And so we're a little bit behind that, and it's a lot of factors that have come into play. But we're hoping that with your help, helping us recycle much better and collect a lot of these materials, recycling it right, and something that Giovanna mentioned, organics and food waste, which is coming soon, that will definitely take us over the 75% threshold. So we really need your help to get us to that goal, to that state mandated goal. And once the food waste and the organics program kicks in Chula Vista, you'll definitely be able to help us with that. But just making sure that even those materials, you keep them, you recycle right, and you make sure that you keep food waste clean from packaging, from plastic bags and all that stuff, because that organic material gets turned into compost and then it gets put in used in agriculture. And we definitely don't want to put plastic in our plants and in our food systems. So we're definitely going to need your help with that. And stay tuned. We're going to do a lot of education on the proper ways to separate and recycle your food waste. We have a question here from Robert, and he's asking, where are the redemption centers for plastic bottles and cans and bottles in Chula Vista? Marty, you want to take that, or you want me to take it?
Go ahead, Manuel.
So unfortunately, a lot of the supermarket redemption centers, the recycling centers, the little tiny ones that look like houses, that's a particular company that's set up all over California. They actually closed, and that was, I would say, a result of what happened with China not taking a lot of our material, and a lot of other factors that made it a little difficult for them to operate. So a lot of those places closed, but the current ones that are open now are on Main Street. There are three of them. Marty mentioned Main Street Recycling. That is like a one-stop for almost all recyclable material. And there's Mike's Recycling on the other side of Main Street. Then there's another site down on the western end of Main Street that also takes recyclables on the 600 block of Main. You'll see the signs as you drive through on the west side of the street there, or the westbound side of the street. So fortunately, those are the only sites. And then there's some other sites in National City that still take recyclables. But yeah, they're closing, and hopefully they'll come back soon. And we're hoping to encourage a lot of those businesses to come back. So it looks like that was the end of our questions. And feel free to add more. This was great conversation, great questions from everybody. Again, thank you very much to Marty and to Giovanna for the great presentation. And I'd like to also invite everybody here to the upcoming Summer Sustainability Series presentations there on the screen, starting next week with Naturescape title, Create a Lush and Naturescape While Conserving Water. I really invite you to that presentation, especially if you love gardening. That's going to be excellent. And we have additional presentations there, as you can see on the screen. Again, to sign up for these, you could go to chulavista.ca.gov/clean to register and invite your friends. Please let everybody know through social media that we have these. These are great presentations. And if you miss them, you could also go back to our website and look at the recordings or hear the recordings, sorry, and also look at them for the presentation. So again, thank you very much to our speakers. Thank you very much for everybody for joining us. And you have a good rest of your afternoon. Thank you very much.